Now, it's a condition that affects around 8,000 people in the UK, and around 32,000 of us are at risk of developing it. We're talking about Huntington's disease, a neurological disorder which affects the nervous system.
Yes, it's a genetic condition that has a 50% chance of being passed down through families and has been featured as a part of a Casualty storyline for Dr. Ethan Hardy. Here's how he broke the news of his diagnosis to the mother of his child.
You were never asked to join MI5 in med school. That is definitely a lie.
OK, I'm not good at this game.
Well, lying's hard. But I like that you're rubbish at it. See, I know the next thing you say has to be true. Yeah, maybe I do know you after all.
I have the Huntington's gene.
And George Rainsford, who plays Dr. Ethan, joins us alongside rower Olympic medalist Sarah Winkless, who has tested positive for the gene. Welcome to Morning Live, both. George, lovely to see you again.
Thank you.
How much did you know about Huntington's disease when you first got that script for Casualty?
Well, very little, and I think that's common, and that was why the Family Matters campaign of raising awareness was so important, because I was very much like the general public and I didn't know anything about it, really. And
then playing the role itself, obviously you have a responsibility to, I mean, obviously do it properly, but also show, I suppose, the educational side of things.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, from an actor's point of view, I just wanted to make sure that I was portraying the character in the most authentic way. And because I didn't know anything about it, I researched and looked into it and made sure that we could portray it in the most honest way.
You certainly did that.
Yeah. And Sarah, as George just said there was very few of us know so much about this Huntington's. But what is Huntington's exactly?
Yeah, Huntington's is a brain degenerative disease. It affects your mood, memory and movement. And if you think about Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and think about them happening simultaneously, that's almost what Huntington's is. And the degenerative bit means that once you start to get ill, show symptoms, you'll have good and bad days, but you will have progressive decline. So unfortunately, your mood, memory and movement will get worse.
How did you find out that you had it in the first place?
I didn't know about Huntington's in my family at all until I was in my teens. Mum was changed, she became different. And then when I was at university, I realised that she did have the gene. She got diagnosed by a doctor and I realised I was at risk alongside my siblings. And looking back at family photos, you can kind of see that it came from her dad. He wasn't diagnosed of it, but there's a way that he holds himself and a way of being that suggests that, in fact, he is suffering from Huntington's.
Well, when you say you noticed that your mum was suffering, what kind of things, how would that look like to us? What did you notice?
Yeah, it was really interesting because we lived with it day in, day out, and the progression was quite slow. So we just thought Mum was changing, but people saw her and thought maybe she was drunk. She lost the natural grace of her movement. She'd been a ballet dancer and she'd loved doing shows and she was just so athletic. And she stopped being able to do that and she would almost crab down the road because her balance changed with the disease. And she became quite volatile. So she would fly off the handle, and my relationship with her during those teenage years became really, really quite difficult, and we would fight a lot. And I was so grateful when she got diagnosed because I could separate what was happening with her and the disease from our relationship and almost forgive that difficulty that we'd lived with together.
Yeah. What about getting tested at that point? Is that something she looked to do or tried to do?
So Mum actually avoided it. So when a doctor suggested she was ill, she changed doctor. She came off our sort of medical care, which we've talked about, and it's so good, and went homeopathic. She got the dentist to take all her mercury fillings out because she was worried they were poisoning her brain.
Wow.
So she clearly knew something was wrong, but didn't want to face up to it until finally we really did. The symptoms were quite severe and we really did need to get some help, and she finally got diagnosed.
So now we've got an Olympic champion and yourself, George. How did the two of you come together to help raise awareness for Huntington's?
I was put in touch with Kath Stanley, who's the Chief Executive of Huntington's Disease Association, because the viewers will know that in the storyline, Ethan's now starting to experience some of the symptoms, and he's had his first career, which is an involuntary physical movement. Again, I wanted to make sure that this was portrayed properly, so I was speaking to Kath, and then she talked about the awareness campaign, and I think the whole point of the campaign is that not only to raise awareness, but also to give family and friends the education and the information and the confidence to help people with Huntington's and offer a support structure and a solidarity in that sense as well.
I was going to say, because the more awareness that you can raise, obviously there's a chance of finding out more about it and maybe solving a few puzzles in the future. Sarah, where are we with the latest with that? Are there medical breakthroughs?
Oh, if we'd been talking 2 months, 3 months ago, I would be absolutely saying yes, there is. But really, sadly, there was a really positive trial. We believe Huntington's is the most curable, non-curable disease. And there was a trial with 900 people on it globally. And we thought that was a way to keep people well. Unfortunately, in March, that trial was pulled. It was not working as well as they hoped. It was seemed dangerous for the patients. And so at the moment, we're in a sort of a pause, if you like. I really, really hope we will learn and we'll keep making steps forward. But at the moment, it feels further away than it was a cure.
Well, I mean, you just got to keep talking about it, keep getting out there, and hopefully something can be done. I really appreciate you coming on this morning and speaking so honestly about it and teaming up with this legend here. Thank you both for coming on Morning Live this morning. Brilliant.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Now, 7